Thank you for joining us for the interview series with Florida leaders. I'm LilaJaber, and this is part 2 of my interview with Allison Tant, candidate for House District 9. Allison, we have to cover this. We can't ignore what's happening around us in the country with the deaths of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor. And I think since you and I scheduled this interview, there have been at least 3 more deaths.
Correct.
What do we do?
Well, it is. First of all, we can't ignore it. Number 2, we have to acknowledge it, and this is a Black Lives Matter issue. Black people are being inordinately affected by this. Obviously, we all need to come together on this issue like we would any other group that needs help, any other entity, any other thing that needs resources brought to bear. My girlfriends that I am in regular contact with who live and work in the African American community here are bereft. They are seeing their children and their loved ones being mowed down. It is a young man, you and I were talking during the break, a young man 12 years old taking the garbage out, doing the responsible thing for his family. He's caught with a bullet. There are issues going on in our community. I think we have a group of people in Tallahassee. You know, we have the tale of 2 cities, right, in Tallahassee. So we have to start with that premise, which is accurate. And we do have, and one of the other things is we have the 11 counties that Second Harvest serves here. Right. Tallahassee has 58% of the food insecurity in the 11 counties. We are one of the top insecure counties in the state. So before COVID, we had families who were already hurting with the sequester, with job furloughs, with job losses. Right. These are people that already started out behind the 8 ball, being further decimated by this. So there's a lot of need in our community,
and inequity.
Need, and also just no way to really find a way out of it. So we've got to look at this holistically. One of the things I mentioned to you before this, so we need to focus on jobs. We need to focus on, access to resources, making sure that we're getting food. Second Harvest is feeding inordinate numbers of people right now that doing an extraordinary job feeding. America has stepped up. The John Rivers with 4 Rivers is providing meals here. There's some amazing work going on. Publix has gotten food directly from farmers to help. Farmers are actually very involved in helping to feed America and feed Tallahassee right now. So making sure these families aren't going hungry is something we need to be doing. But also in the wake of the deaths and the tensions in the African American community, my girlfriends are asking for mental health resources for their loved ones, which is new and which is vital, and which we need to be making sure that there are mental health resources for our loved ones in the Black community and brown communities. Taking the stigma out of that is huge. I am encouraged by that. So in terms of police reform, I was one of the ones who thought that it would be helpful to have the police department on the south side of town for the purpose of building relationships. I know that was a touch point in the community, and I know that I think that would have added to an economic impact to the south side area of Tallahassee. We had to have lunch break spots, other businesses that could have gone out there. But in terms of how do we do this, I think that we need to realize again, let's bring together thought leaders on criminal justice reform, on utilizing funding that's maybe going for issues in criminal justice that could be better used with social work, better used with community outreach, better used to build some understanding. And I think that is, I am pleased that Tallahassee's looking at a citizen advisory group on all of that, to work on that. I don't know anybody who's in office now locally or running for office that's not concerned about this issue. So, but we can't forget it. As we move along, we can't just leave this behind. So
Well, so the notion that the police should be defunded
Mm-mm.
with alternative community support systems, is that something that you
I
would
don't
agree
think,
with?
I'm uncomfortable with the term defund the police. I don't think that that is what anybody, I don't, everybody needs a functioning law enforcement, but we need a functioning correct law enforcement, and I think that is something that's a term that I'm personally uncomfortable with, that I think that is a misnomer. I think that what we want to do, what everybody wants, is to make sure that we have a functioning law enforcement, but we also have the ability to better support our citizenry and better training, obviously. And I was reading something this morning about the sensitivity training not working, and so obviously that's got to be looked into. But I do know that I do think that our sheriff is going to be looking hard at all of that. I mean, but we also have people who are doing this work. We need to find them and bring them in to help guide us in getting this done the correct way, because like I said, I'm just uncomfortable with the use of that term, defund the police.
I often think, and you and I both supported this sheriff. He's an amazing individual. I think he is uniquely positioned in this community to take a lead.
He has done, he's got a very long background in law enforcement and in criminal justice, juvenile justice. He is, he's very learned in these issues. I suspect that he is up to speed on any current developments, new developments since, he left his field of study years ago. I think that he will absolutely rise to address this need, and I think that I'm assuming that the city and the county are coordinating together on all of that, and I will absolutely, if I'm elected, bring every resource I can and every thought leader I can to assist.
I was going to ask you, what is the role of the legislature in this time?
Is bringing together the resources to help support our local communities, absolutely, and to support hurting segments of our community. And we know that this is this is something that again goes back to what we were discussing earlier, is that this is not going to go away.
No.
It's part of the resiliency work that has to be done for our community. I don't know what it's like to be black or brown. I can't pretend to, but I will say that my son with disabilities has been, I can see it happen. You see somebody look at him, in the blink of an eye they make an opinion, and he's categorized and over here. So, and that's just the reality for us, and has been since the beginning of his life, and it's painful. And so I know too that sometimes when he's interacting with people in a public setting, I have to step in, and I'm very afraid for those times when I'm not there to step in to explain where he's coming from and what he's doing. And I can relate to that black mother and that brown mother who, even just bending over into the glove box to get the driver's license or to get the insurance information and title and registration to the car out. That is perceived now as a threatening action in a car. And now I've seen moms have to explain, keep it in the visor. And that to me is a sad reality, that just because of the pigment tone of someone's skin, they're going to be profiled and assumed to be a threat, and a threat that has to be met with action. And I've read, and like you have, I'm sure, in the ensuing days since George Floyd, people of great accomplishment who happen to be brown or black being stopped by, college professors, college presidents, people that are in a position of teaching our young people being assumed to be a criminal perpetrator just because of the color of their screen. They fit the description. That to me is it's a sad commentary on our society, that we don't give each other a better pass than that.
So Allison, this is your chance to talk to the community today. How do you want to close this interview? What do you want the constituents to know about you?
Oh my goodness, that's a big question.
Yeah, that we haven't covered yet.
Just that we're all in unprecedented times right now. We're in this together. There's so much more. If we can look and find the humanity in one another that we can do together, and that we can come together as opposed to staying behind our shields and labels and what have you. and just making sure that we do that, because again, we are in unprecedented times, and that's what it's going to need. That's what we're going to need to do.
Yeah. And we need people to vote for you.
Oh, absolutely.
We need people to vote for you.
Yes.
You can't help if you're not in office.
Right. August 18th, I have a primary. I'm on the primary ballot, and then November 3rd, my parents' wedding anniversary, is the general election, and so I'm definitely going to be. What's interesting is that in the time of COVID, you can't go knock doors,
Right.
and I had planned a very robust field campaign, so I'm very grateful for this opportunity. Also, I'm doing Zoom house parties, round tables, anything I can to reach people and learn about issues, so that if I'm elected, I can hit the ground running. So that's all stuff that I'm going to be doing in the ensuing months. But definitely, I need you to vote for me.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Thank you for putting yourself out there. Thank you for being with us today.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. Thank you for yours.